Remember the good old days when the Cayo Perico first came out? Cooldown was a pedestrian 10 minutes. It only cost you a meager 25 grand to kick the whole thing off, and El Rubio's office safe would contain no less than $50,000. Them's were the days. And I think by now, as players, we're all very much used to and aware of Rockstar's Project Cayo nerf job, which significantly altered the layout and results of this heist, both in July of 2022 and then again in September of 2023. So I'm not going to dive too much into the overall numbers per se. I will a little, but the main point of this video is to underline and draw attention to the overall heist itself and how the outcome has obscured this activity as, dare I say, just another heist in GTA Online, which drastically differs from when this thing first came out. I was recently playing this heist, and it occurred to me that for the most part, the heist is not as dynamic as it once was. They've nerfed this thing so much that it drastically affected the gameplay and how, at least for me, I play this now compared to how I used to play this. What do I mean? Well, what I'd like to do is focus on the conclusion of these heists and the differences between the payouts, because there is, or at least there was, differences. For me, when this heist first came out, it was awesome. And not just because of the payouts. There were three main categories why I love this DLC. And the first two, well, they still hold true. Number one, brand new gameplay. We were getting a completely new map to visit, explore, and perform this heist. In my opinion, the last great DLC we ever received. Number two, the first, and to this day, the only heist that can be performed solo. And I think this fact really got lost with Rockstar when they started nerfing it. Now, were players repetitively grinding this heist? Yes. Were players repetitively grinding just because of the payouts? No. I think the reason the heist was, and still is, being played so much is the fact that you don't need to rely on other people to complete it. And finally, number three, the differences in payouts depending on your choices and the main target. And listen very carefully to what I just said there. The differences in payouts, not necessarily the overall payouts, which we all seem to focus on. And this is important for what I'm about to share. Before I touch on this though, let me first exclude a couple of the more lucrative targets. First, the Panther. The Cayo came out in 2020, and in the 6 years that followed, players have had only 5 chances to grab it. That's less than once per year. For the purposes of this video, I'm not including the Panther because, quite honestly, it doesn't exist. Secondly, I'm not including the Diamond for similar reasons. Number one, the value hasn't changed, so it's not really a talking point, and number two, for similar reasons as the Panther, it's kind of a unicorn in today's Cayo heist. So, that leaves us with all the other primary targets, loot, money, and bonuses. And I know there's 2 modes for this heist, normal mode and hard mode, but what you're about to see here is all normal mode payouts. It actually doesn't even really matter anymore. The only difference here is an extra 100 grand, which is basically the cost to kick this whole thing off now. Okay, so what do I mean when I say the differences in payouts? Well, first let's look back at the early 2020s before the nerf. Again, excluding the Panther and the Diamond, let's say we got the Bear Bonds and we were lucky enough to fill our bag with 2 stashes of cocaine. Also, side note, I'm walking through the payouts as a solo player. There's going to be no gold discussed in this video. Remember reason number 2 for loving this heist? That's right, solo friendly. So, with this take, our payout would have been approximately $1,525,000. Again, assuming we received good safe money, we completed the elite challenge, etc. And this is just an average. Could have been a little bit more, could have been a little bit less. Now, let's say back in the day, we also did the heist and got the tequila. Again, let's say we were lucky enough to get the cocaine as secondary loot. So our take would have been approximately $1,375,000. Sure, that's a lot of money, but let's dive in and look at the difference. In the old days, the difference between getting the Bear Bonds and the tequila is roughly $150,000. That's a considerable amount. Remember this value as we now take a look at today's payout. Here's a screenshot of a recent Cayo I did. I received the Bear Bonds and my secondary loot was, just like the previous examples, cocaine. My take? $1,102,649. Alrighty then, let's now compare this with another recently completed Cayo in which I received the tequila, also with a full bag of cocaine. My take for this one? $1,048,066. Okay, this sounds eerily similar to the bearer bonds I just did, but let's confirm and check out the actual difference, which is a mere $54,000. And sadly, this is my point. In years past, it actually meant something when you received different primary and secondary targets. Even if you didn't get the diamond, you would still get excited or disappointed regarding the bearer bonds, necklace, or tequila. Nowadays, it doesn't matter. And this also extends to the secondary loot. Rockstar changed this to where even if you receive the bearer bonds, a full bag of cocaine to go along with it is going to be worth less than if you had a full bag of cocaine with a tequila. Why is this? I have no idea, but the outcome is that unless you get the diamond, everything else is going to net you similar overall amounts. Doesn't matter if you get the bearer bonds with full cocaine or the tequila with crappy cash. The difference in money, as I've just shown, is going to be comparable to completing a run-of-the-mill standard bounty in your bail office. Meaning, not a lot. And in my opinion, this has taken one of the more enjoyable elements from the Cayo heist and left us with an obscure and dull copy of what once was. Like I said in my top 3 reasons why I love the Cayo, part of the enjoyment was not only discovering what you would be receiving as a primary target, but it was also about finding, locating, and strategizing how you would collect the secondary loot in the finale. But that's gone now. What you're seeing on the screen now is my last 6 heists. Notice, by the way, there's no diamond here. I'll get to my thoughts on this in a moment, but regardless, here are my last 6 heists. You can see there's a mix of bearer bonds, necklaces, and tequila. Also of note, I made sure that the secondary loot for all of what you're seeing here was the cocaine. So yeah, I definitely had to spend a little more time for some of these in order to make this happen. And yes, I know there's going to be some slight differences with safe money, elite challenges, etc., but look at my take for each one of these. They're all within tens of thousands of dollars, not the hundreds of thousands we once enjoyed. And again, putting aside all the overall reductions in pay, what this means is that Rockstar basically eliminated the fun and challenge of getting any other target except for the Panther and Diamond. They've dumbed this heist down to a simple run and grab heist. There's no incentive anymore to strategize and plan according to the primary and secondary targets. It's basically diamond or bust. And speaking of the diamond, here's another huge gripe I have. When Rockstar nerfed this whole heist, they punished the grinder by guaranteeing the tequila if you do these back to back, which I totally get and somewhat agree with. However, my issue is this. I only ever do the Cayo once per week, usually on the weekend, which means I'm waiting at least 7 days between heists. And typically, as I've just shown, when I go back to scope the island, I seem to be getting something other than the diamond. This is just a flat-out joke, Rockstar. If you're punishing people for doing back-to-back heists, fine. But with this same logic, you should be rewarding the player for waiting 5, 6, 7, or more days. Just pick a time frame and stick to it. If you're waiting, let's say, 6, 7, 8, or more days between heists, you should be guaranteed the diamond, just like you're guaranteed the tequila for doing back-to-back. Even though I've shown the payouts are similar for everything but the diamond and Panther, it's really frustrating when you wait 7 days to perform the Cayo and then find out you got the necklace. Not cool, Rockstar. Alright, so that's it, my friends. Thank you for watching. As always, if you liked the video and want to help out, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and let me know what you think. I really want to hear from the players that played this back in the day compared to playing it now. What are your thoughts? Do you feel the same enjoyment when doing this heist now? If so, drop a comment below and let everyone know. Until next time, be happy, well, say to be the one. Maestro.